So the third lesson is really a two-part lesson, and in the first part of the lesson, the students are going to get a chance to review with a partner or a small group the fact that they wrote the previous day, and just kind of talk about what they did well when they were writing it, what they could still work on, and then they're also going to brainstorm ideas of if they were to put that in a chapter, what the chapter title might be, or what type of information they might group that fact with. And this is just really to kind of get them started thinking about chapter headings and chapter titles that they are going to be asked to create in their research paper. And some of those guidelines are kind of laid out for them in the graphic organizer that they have. If you were to look at the graphic organizer, they need to have 5 chapter titles or headings, and so the graphic organizer has that out for them so that they can start putting them in. And then they're going to get a good portion of the class time to just kind of use their nonfiction book to pick out facts related to their research topic, write them down, put them into chapters, create chapter titles, create headings, and bounce those ideas off group members, off a partner, and work with the teacher, ask questions, and just kind of get any support that they need in being able to go through that process. And the teacher during this lesson should be circulating so that they're getting an idea of who needs a little bit more support, how can the lesson be adapted to provide more support for students who need it, and just make sure that students are starting to get the idea of how to pick out facts from this information, write them down, and group them into a main idea or a chapter. And the second part of this lesson is to talk to the students about sources. One of the requirements that they'll have when writing this research paper is that they need to provide a source for where they're getting their information from. And so this may not be as formal as a traditional bibliography that you might use in college or high school, but it does get students thinking about and understanding that they need to provide information about the source of where they got their facts from. And so they'll be using a structured template, which can be found at the top of the graphic organizer, to guide them in the title of the book, what pages did they use, who the author was, things like that, so what type of source it was, so that they have that information, so when it comes time later to write their form of a bibliography, they already have that information laid out. And so they'll get explicit instruction, and they'll also get a chance to practice that, talk about it, go over it with the teacher and some peers. So it's a really important part of this process and a very necessary part, and so I wanted to make sure that the lesson had a lot of explicit instruction and also some guided practice, and then immediate feedback so students knew what they were doing correctly and what they needed to do next time if it wasn't correct.